Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Probably a Disney, and today I've got a mix of breaking updates and some underreported news stories that I think are pretty significant, and they apply to both coasts. And we're going to start today at the Disneyland Resort, where it seems that Walt Disney A Magical Life, which is the Disneyland 70th anniversary signature experience, has seemingly been delayed. This is that animatronic Walt Disney show that takes place in his private office at Disneyland's Main Street Opera House, and which will eventually be in rotation with Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. The animatronic tech is supposed to be next generation and highly detailed because the stakes for this attraction are extremely high. That's actually one reason I was kind of opposed to this show initially, even though now I admit I've been brought on board. But a delay? I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder if my initial concerns were justified and they're having difficulties or it's not living up to expectations. It's a little concerning. But I will say, having it now open on July 17th, which is Disneyland's actual anniversary instead of May 16th, is definitely more appropriate and will feel more special. Disneyland shared further details about the Main Street Opera House's new Walt Disney exhibits for the 70th, all of which sound fantastic and historical, but aren't really huge news. What is, though, is what awaits in the exit lobby. Here, Disney says they're going to offer previews of upcoming projects to the Disneyland Resort. And this is a big deal because we're likely going to see some updated plans and concept art for Avengers Campus Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab, maybe the new Avatar Land, and a surprise or two. So if Disney Park news and Imagineering is your thing, like it is mine, this is really exciting and a space you're going to want to check out on the regular. And speaking of Avengers Campus, Disney has reportedly broken ground on the land's expansion and these two anticipated MCU attractions. This is also why the red car trolley just closed for good at Disneyland California Adventure, because Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab are going to be built where the trolley barn currently stands. But here's something else. Marvel Studios' Avengers Doomsday, which stars Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom and is expected to be an ensemble MCU film, begins filming this March, like in a couple of weeks. And it is possible that this is when Imagineering is going to film the cameos and audio for Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab, the latter which is already confirmed to feature Robert Downey Jr.'s involvement. Granted, they could also do this next year when Marvel Studios films Secret Wars, but if Imagineering is planning to get this attraction underway ASAP, this is a real possibility and super exciting in conjunction with the Preview Center opening at Disneyland in July. But hold on, there's even more happening at Disneyland before I jump over to Disney World, and it has to do with the change coming to It's a Small World. While Disneyland's Main Street Opera House is celebrating Walt Disney and the future of the parks, Main Street Cinema is going to spotlight the legendary songwriting duo, the Sherman Brothers, who wrote songs for Mary Poppins and also many Disney park songs, like There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, and of course, It's a Small World. In addition to the Opera House offering a special film about the last verse, which was the third and final verse Richard M. Sherman added to It's a Small World, and his final contribution to the company, Disney is also adding that verse to the original Small World attraction at Disneyland beginning July 17th as well. So overall, while I am concerned about Walt Disney A Magical Life being delayed nearly 2 months, but with that show opening in conjunction with this addition to It's a Small World, this means Disneyland's 70th anniversary is going to be centered on actual park and company history, and I can't be mad about that. Okay, let's head over to Walt Disney World, where Disney just shared new details about this year's Flower and Garden Festival. And finally, Disney is doing something different, and it sounds out of left field, but I think there could be a clue here that's indicative of the new Imagineering direction. Let me explain. first, I'm hitting the pause button for a quick second to introduce a new segment I'm experimenting with on my channel for my news videos, and that's a Did You Know trivia style little factoid. And in the spirit of today's video involving Disneyland and Walt Disney World, I'm spotlighting a corner of Hollywood Studios that also bridges California and Florida, and that's the Carthay Circle Theater. This gift shop on Hollywood Studios' Sunset Boulevard is a mini version in tribute to the historic Los Angeles theater that hosted the premiere of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs back in 1937. Disney California Adventure at the Disneyland Resort is also home to a replica of the Carthay Circle, but it is way bigger. It's actually a restaurant and intended to be this park's quote-unquote castle, and it's packed with Disney history and Snow White references. But if you visit Disney World's version, pay attention to the interior. The architecture and design in this room in particular is inspired by the original theater, and there are Snow White posters and framed photos of that historic premiere that's meant to take you back in time to when Snow White had just been released. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you didn't know and if you like this particular segment. Okay, back to Walt Disney World. So this year, Epcot is celebrating Disney World's Yacht and Beach Club resorts during the Flower and Garden Festival. These resorts are located just next door to the park, and Disney is doing this nautical themed playground for the festival titled Play Along Bay, a nod to the resort's famous Stormalong Bay pool. Then, right next to this play area, Epcot is offering two new festival booths called the Yacht Grub and the Beach Grub, a play on Yacht Club and Beach Club. Now for Festival of the Arts, Disney unveiled a booth themed after 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a former Disney park attraction. And now the next festival is celebrating a Disney park resort. I have to wonder if Disney World is experimenting with further mining its own park's IP, and maybe this is a new direction. And the reason why I think this is possible is the Disney Treasure, Disney Cruise Line's newest ship, brought Disney Parks IP on board with its Haunted Mansion parlor bar, a Jungle Cruise themed lounge, an Epcot themed suite, and it went over incredibly well with guests. So I think this is something to watch, and personally, I'm here for it. Lastly, I have to talk about something that's kind of flown under the radar but could be huge for Galaxy's Edge, and specifically Hollywood Studios' Galaxy's Edge, and that is a Star Wars restaurant. You've probably heard the news that the Wrap confirmed the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is now being used as Imagineering offices for all of Disney World's upcoming projects. But here's what stood out to me in that story. According to the article, the Wrap heard rumblings that there were plans for the Star Cruiser to be used for a special dinner theater experience, something I think most park fans expected they would do. But due to transportation logistics, that whole idea was scrapped. However, the Wrap was also told by one source that while cast members have tested a dining experience in the Star Cruiser, it wasn't meant to be held in the Star Cruiser building, but as a possible dining experience in the park. And they're circling back on the original Galaxy's Edge idea of having a dinner theater. A Star Wars restaurant / dinner theater in Galaxy's Edge could really breathe new life into this land, especially now that Disney is progressively removing the land's sequel trilogy timeline. I actually experienced a Star Wars character meal at Hollywood Studios back during Star Wars weekends, with Stormtroopers, Boba Fett, and Darth Vader coming to the table for photos and interactions, and it also offered Star Wars themed food, and it was a fantastic experience. And back then, I fully expected this is what we were going to get at Galaxy's Edge. Now, just maybe, that's coming true. And while this is yet to be confirmed and granted may never get off the ground, I think the money Disney could make off a Star Wars restaurant makes it an appealing project. And with Imagineering offices now a stone's throw away from Galaxy's Edge, it could make it more likely. Another reason why I think this is likely to happen is, as I mentioned in a previous video, Hollywood Studios has a dining problem. It's losing Mama Melrose's and Pizza Rizzo on top of already having limited food options. Granted, I doubt a yet-to-be-announced Star Wars restaurant will open before Monstropolis, but dining has to be an issue Disney is aware of for Hollywood Studios. And Disney often opens more than one experience at a time at different parts of a park to spread out crowds. So we'll see if this pops up sometime this year, and maybe at D23 in August. So that's all I have for today, everybody. As always, thank you for watching. And if you were looking for a different take on Disney Park and Cruise Line news, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. But I do have something else to ask of you, and that's whether you think that the Walt Disney show at Disneyland is in trouble. I also want to know your excitement level for Avengers Infinity Defense at Disney California Adventure, and if you think a Star Wars restaurant is on its way to Hollywood Studios. But in the meantime, again, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a magical day.